We're going to begin this hour with one more look back at Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It was just over a year ago, if you can believe that, 1 year ago. And it comes from the CBS News crew that was in Ukraine's capital on that very first night of the war. That's senior foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata, our producer Justine Redman, and camera operator Abdi Cadani. They show us how that first night unfolded and how Vladimir Putin's decision to invade has changed their lives and the lives of millions of others.
We didn't believe that it was going to happen. I didn't believe it was going to happen. I didn't think he would start a war.
The night before the invasion, I just had a hunch, and I strolled down to the cocktail bar at the hotel we were staying. And there were a bunch of journalists talking to one another, saying, is it gonna happen, isn't it gonna happen? And there was literally a piano player playing. And I told Justine to come down and join me in a drink, because I have a pretty good feeling that this might be the last time we have a drink at this hotel bar for a long time.
And at this point, it's about 2 a.m. And we knew that this could be our last chance to get any sleep for who knows how long. So everyone went to bed. And then about half an hour later, my phone rings. So I had to go and wake everyone up again. Like, all right, come on, everyone up, everyone ready.
And I was like, oh my God, this could actually happen. And to be honest with you, it was terrifying.
Way off in the distance, I heard a series of booms. And I've been in enough conflict zones to know what that sound is. And I was like, okay, that's it. Here we go.
What we didn't realize, and really nobody did, was the scale of the invasion. Was it going to be an attack, an assault from the east? Was it going to be massive airstrikes? Was it going to be cruise missiles? And as it turned out, it was all of those things.
Was I scared? There was one night when we were just finishing up our live shots, and Charlie's standing in front of the camera. What happened?
What the hell was that?
And suddenly there's this massive flash of light, like nothing we've ever seen before. And it was silent. Or at least it was until about a good, I don't know, 10 seconds later or something, when there was this poof.
Now, we have training. When something like that happens, you get away from the windows and balcony, and you get low, and you get away from whatever that was. None of that training kicked in, so I decided to turn around and get a closer look at what had just happened.
Trying to see if there was
like
something else going on that would make sense of this. And I said, it's probably nuclear. And we sort of laughed. I was like, but actually, I'm not even kidding.
It was scary at the time, and we can laugh about it now because nobody was killed.
Ми вже видаємо зброю.
On the day the war started, Zelensky made a statement that the military was going to start issuing small arms to all veterans and all volunteers. And we saw hundreds of people, mostly men, streaming into this center and walking out with guns. And they didn't have any training. It's not like they had marching orders. They were just getting guns. And we looked at each other and were like, this is about to turn into the Wild West.
At the same time, we're keeping our eye on the emergency exit, because if this is going to get really bad, we need to find out where we can get to and when we're going to jump. And we had those conversations.
How is it different? The consequences of this war felt like they could go much further. You know, it could go as far as Europe. It could go beyond. It could be a nuclear war. And so it really felt like we were kind of on the cusp of something huge that could reshape the world.
I don't think it's changed me as such, but it's been another ongoing reminder of how precious life is. We've seen so many people with absolutely tragic stories of loss. You know, it's hard to see young children go through these things and not as a parent, think of your own children and just how heart-wrenching it is.
When you witness that repeatedly, it does have an impact on your life. It has an impact on your family. It has an impact on everything. War is a terrible, terrible thing.
You come away from this always feeling like you've come this close to death. And so you kind of come away feeling more grateful to be alive. And, you know, I think it's that kind of coming to terms with your own mortality again and again and again and feeling like you've got away with it that, you know, is a hallmark of covering stories like this. And then, you know, we walk away when the people, you know, the victims can't.
Oh, it's so interesting to hear their perspective. I think Charlie sums it up nicely when he says war is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, and it affects so many people on so many different levels. It's interesting to hear their perspective as it's beginning that very first night.
Yeah, it's also just a reminder of the number of teams we have in place all over the world in difficult situations.
We're in danger.
And also, you know, I thank our viewers for paying the attention to this story that we've wanted to give it, because only because of their interest that we're able to tell these stories.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's spot on. You know, we have and will always be willing to leave the comfort of the studio to cover a story. You guys have done it over the course of your careers for a long time. But this is where we find ourselves on a daily basis. Those teams we have all around the world do a job that is not easy and oftentimes dangerous. So I'd like to speak on behalf of all of us, if I can, and just say thank you to those teams that give us the stories that we need to hear on a daily basis.
And a year later, it's still a story with no end in sight, although we heard President Zelensky say it will end in 2023. I hope he's right about that.
We can only hope.
I hope so.